it kind of also can be derived from this curve. So it's very easy to like get closer to excellence when you're like back at the curve. But when you're good enough, that's when it becomes more difficult to become great. So it's always good as the enemy of great, not bad. It's like if you're good, I'm sure all of you are really good. So that's why, extra word of caution for you guys, that's when the complacency sets in, and that's when it becomes all the more difficult to become great. Especially when you're good, just watch out. I mean, that's when it's more difficult to become great. It's a famous book. I'm sure a lot of you must have read it. There are very good insights from this book that you can read. It just talks about different case studies of people who have been really successful. It shows that they were prepared at the right time, and opportunity when it knocks, then they could make good use of it. Once again, one more book recommendation, very good book. It sounds like one of those management guru kind of topics, but it's more than just management. It talks about leadership in your entire life. So this is like one of the exercises you'll do if you actually read the book. It shows that the size of the circle is the amount of time you spend on each of these domains, and the overlap shows like how much complementary these are. So you can see it's probably a typical curve for you guys right now, or something like this was mine when I was here, which is to show like you spend a little bit of time on acads and do a little bit of homework with friends and community, spend a lot of time on yourself, and hopefully some time for family. There's like overlap here and there. But once you go out in the real work, you'll see that work becomes the full thing. And even sad fact is that your friends are basically your colleagues, and your family is like a satellite, and self is like a satellite. Like you have to use a microscope to see. Instead, it should be something like this. It's an ideal. It's probably not achievable by anyone, but it should be like concentric circles wherein everything is aligned. It's just like vector addition. It's like, if everything is pulling you in different direction, you're not gonna go anywhere. So it's always useful to align everything. So think of something where you can align all these forces so that you get like holistic happiness in whatever you're doing. This is the other approach. I'm not a big fan. It says take what you're good at and what you're interested in and where money is, and wherever there's an intersection, that's what you should be working on. I think it's a good idea at face value, but what it fails to recognize is the synergistic effects. So let's take something that you're really interested in. It turns out that because you're so interested in it, you can automatically become good at it eventually. And because you get really good at it, then you'll become excellent, and that's where you'll make money. And you can see that there are relationships in different directions. So even if you pick one of these factors, it can actually reinforce the other factors. This is just to show that you should not probably be like a float sim. You're just like drifting around whichever way the world is going, the current is going, the wind is going. Instead, use the sailing example, which is no matter which way the wind blows, you can go in any direction. You just have to align your sails. You can go in whatever direction you kind of want to go. So if you have a strong why, by now you'll know how exactly to navigate whatever is the external factor. All right, so we finally come to the easiest question now, which is the what. What exactly should I be doing? I think if you answered the why strongly, you were like 90% there. If you answered the how strongly, you were like 99% there. The what is an easy thing. One more book recommendation. This is a fantastic book. It talks about the concept of flow, which is like being in the zone. Some activities when you do, you are in the zone, which is you don't know that time is passing by, you don't know that you're hungry, you don't know that you haven't slept in 10 days. This is what it's all about. It's called the flow. A similar question, what gives you true pleasure? What would you do for free? It seems like here in campus, gaming is a big theme, music is a big theme. Gaming, yeah, I kind of agree, but like, just watch out. I mean, it's useful, it's fun, but can actually consume you. So just be cognizant of it. And I know of people who have actually gone on to become very successful at gaming, and like some of my close friends, they work for like Blizzard, you know what is Blizzard? And they make a lot of money also in the process. So not necessarily a bad thing, but know what you're signing up for. And what do you want to do after IIT Madras? It's one of the questions. Same concept, tag cloud. Don't know. I use the word searching, same as don't know. Entrepreneurship, research. I think all common themes, nothing extraordinary that comes out of this slide. I think job is probably smaller because it's been represented by different exact terms that's been mentioned. This is a very good website by this person called Antoine Davis. He has 100 goals in his life that he wants to achieve before he dies. And he does a good job of providing like some sort of a platform where you can actually write and track these goals. And he categorizes them by different categories. I think it's a very useful tool for you to kind of have it all there so that you can like, access it wherever you are and keep yourself accountable in the process. Please make use of this. I think it's probably one of my last book recommendations. Very, very, very good book. It talks about how to make decisions, and it points out the biases that you have. And I can guarantee you, each of you have at least like 10 or 12 biases that you are unaware of. And I definitely had a lot, and I thought this really brings those out. You won't know them till you actually read the book. So please read this, and it really helps you to make decisions in life, especially if you're making a career decision. Some of these insights are very useful. I won't go over them right now. I think it's very clear. I just picked it off the internet again. Past is definitely not worth living in. You can learn a few things. I'm not a big fan of past, especially you guys are young, so you don't have to like really dwell upon it too much. If there's something you can learn, like learn and move on. And if you're really into history, this is a very good book like by Bill Bryson. He says the title of the book is kind of small, but the title is A Short History of Nearly Everything. So if you're really into history, you can read this book and you'll know everything. And yeah, what if I fail? What if I fail? Like, what happens when you fail? I'll give you the answer. Does somebody want to take a crack? Is somebody waiting to take a crack? Try again. Yeah, that's good. So the point is, the conventional wisdom on failure, try again, it doesn't matter, everything becomes like super clear once you do something called leveling up. It's just like you fail at a what level? Let's take the case of like my personal example. I really wanted to get into IIM Bangalore. It's a what, like it's a specific individual what goal, and I couldn't do it. So all you got to do is just like level up, go to the how level, and you see if your how is like intact, or if there's like some other how that you can use there. So is there like some other alternative? And even if you fail at the how level, then you have to go to the why level. And that's why, and this is like if you go home with one single point from my presentation, this is all I want to take away, for you to take away, which is there's probably very low chances of failure at the why level. In fact, if you have a external goal, which is like a noble cause, then you would never fail. Because at the why level, if you're working for something like saving the world, finding a cure for cancer, it's even noble to fail at that level because you're working at something which is beyond you. So having very personal, selfish, what level goals is probably the reason why you feel so dejected from failures, because you're like stuck upon something really small. But if you have a larger why level goal, then you'll find that the context becomes much more clearer and really like takes out the sting from failure, because you can like find out some other how to do it. And even if you cannot, even if you have explored all the options, it still makes it much easier once you go to the why level. Bruce Lee says a goal is not always meant to be reached. It's just something that you aim at. The same person says what I tried to indicate earlier. Do not fear failure. Low aim is a big crime. And in fact, in great attempts, like great attempts being a noble cause at the why level, it's even glorious to fail. So there's a lot of glory in failing at that level. So it's like failure is not a problem. It's like bring it on, welcome. Take a guess. It's Bruce Lee again. He says, knowing is not enough. Willing is also not enough. You must be doing. I think that's something that I fell a victim to. Like at IIT, you think it's all about coming up with a great idea. Real world, man, you have to really do it. It's all about the doing. And hopefully, if you have a strong why, you have a strong sense of purpose, then you are like really motivated to actually do it. Otherwise, like you're just trying to come up with like creative solutions that even you are not working on, and of course nobody else is going to be working on it. You saw 3 quotes from Bruce Lee. He happens to be my idol, and one of my what goals was satisfied when I could at least meet the little dragon's statue in Hong Kong. And of course, I challenged him for a fight and lost pretty badly. And so this is the final cheat sheet. All the questions that I kind of explored, I have written all of them down there, and it's kind of like cascading. So if you really want to implement things, like go down, the last question on the cheat sheet is, what should I do next? It'll be really clear by the time you are at that level if you start from the top. And every time you hit a failure, the urge is to actually move up. And if you're in deep shit, I mean, it's obvious you need to move up, and it's like much clearer. The view is like better there. This is a standard disclaimer. All photos I just picked off the internet, none of them are mine. Maybe 1 or 2 are mine. And then views are my views. On the books, I want to give a quick shout out to one of the startups of one of my batchmates, Amritash Mishra and Naresh. It's called I Love Read In. I think it's a lending library, very useful in Chennai. I mean, I would urge you to like get a membership in case you don't have any other source for these books. Some of these books I actually got from him. It's just up to you to read. I mean, I'm very, like, I'm a big fan of books, so I read all the time. It works for me, and I think it's a fantastic way of learning things. And if you want to reach out to me, feel free to. This is my profile picture there. I think at least 1,000 Bharat Kumarans on Facebook. So the guy who's like standing with open arms saying like, please come, it's me. And add me on LinkedIn or send me email on Gmail. I would just like to conclude by saying, why am I here? I'm here mainly thanks to all gratitude and credit goes to my parents, who I'm very fortunate to have in the crowd. They're sitting right there. So all thanks to them. Thank you. All right, so I wouldn't call it a question and answer session. It's going to be more like you give me your perspectives on things, and I can ask you questions so that you'll find the answer yourself. But like, let's have like a quick discussion if time permits. And if you have any valuable insights to share, if you say something that works for you better than whatever is out there, like let me know. I at least like to think I'm as young as you guys, so at least I'll learn from you guys also. And you guys are like the smartest, so please let me know also. It's just like too sleepy. I should have turned off all the lights because it was black. It made it easier. Yes?
How does being a consultant fit into your why?
Sure, I think it's a good question. It's also a personal question, might not apply to you. It's just something which personally applies to me. I found that curiosity, just like how it came out as one of the biggest themes, it's very relevant for me. I've been always curious. In almost every decision that I've made, I really wanted to like break things apart and find out how things work. I think the positive usage of being curious is to actually build things to solve other people's problems. I think consulting is it's an industry which makes good use of being curious for the greater benefit of institutions, and that's why consulting. Any other questions, views? It's a good question. Actually, I then moved on to trying to fly, to be honest. Train was like fast, and as soon as I grew up, I saw those things flying in the air, and I thought those are like faster. I mean, I hadn't seen them till like at that time. And what happened was I took like a few classes in being a pilot, so that dream was also satisfied. And then I saw like the rockets and like the spacecrafts and everything. I don't yet have the money, like hopefully one day.
The service you have connected, that's n equal to 73. What's that?
Yeah, n is usually like a sample size. It's like a standard notation for any statistical survey that you do. It's usually a small n, which is like 73 of you responded in time, so I used your responses. So it's like 73 individual unique responses. Yeah, it's a good question. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I could have asked that question myself. Like, what is that n over there? Any other questions? Or any other comments? Like, I want to get some wisdom also. I see a lot of wisdom in the audience.
Like, how do we know what do we exactly want? Like, sometimes interests keep changing, right? Something you like now, later you might not like it. So how do you know, like, what is your, like, calling or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, my understanding on that is the reason why it keeps changing is because those are different answers to the what. So a what can be multiple points, but then you see that once you start focusing on the how and then the why, there are not too many points over there. Fundamentally, if you are really for human equality, it's very tough for you to like suddenly one day saying, okay, I'm done with equality. I don't want to do equality. Now I'll do human inequality. It takes a lot of like momentum to change that. I would say that with central concepts being intact, you would actually find yourself like moving around a lot of whats. I think it's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And you'll find yourself being like much more satisfied, even if you hit upon different whats, which might seem on the surface completely different, might have like a common thread at the core level. Does that kind of reconcile it? Sure.
Kind of fine.
Why did you join McKinsey?
Yes, it's the same answer. It's a brilliant firm, man. Like honestly, I'm not the best person to answer everything about McKinsey. There's a presentation I think later today. You should feel free to ask a lot of questions about McKinsey to them. But my understanding is it's a really, really, really impressive firm. I think they do a lot of fantastic work, especially making use of people's analytical abilities. I'm really looking forward to that. And one of the things that you will learn, at least down the line, is that it's not just about the money, but also the cultural fit of the organization. That's very important. That's one of the things I would have rather focused less when I was at IIT. But later on, you'll find that the culture matters. It's, in other words, telling you what are the values that the organization espouses. So I think on the cultural level, I think I see, at least on paper, I see a lot of fit with the organization that I'm going to be working for. So I would urge you to, like, find out for whatever organization, whatever institution that you plan to work with, please explore the culture also. I think it's really very important in the long run. Yeah, I'm not just saying it to be like politically correct. I think it really matters. No, man. It's like, this is something. As you can see, like all I do is just like collect stuff from other people and just like put it together. So I'm not even close. There's nothing new I've done. I think one of the ideas that I put up there was you don't have to do things completely new. I mean, hopefully if you do, and especially IIT is a research institution, I think research is one of the most noblest causes that you could be representing, which is basically advancing the technology, which is like the condition of the human lot. So if you're doing it, I think it's fantastic. Any new research, new IP, anything new that you create in any field, I think it's brilliant. I, for myself, I don't think I'm there yet. I still have a tough time trying to gather all the fun stuff that's already out there. So I'm just trying to leverage on what's been already done. None of these ideas are, I mean, I didn't come up with any of these ideas, to be really honest. It's just me trying to explore what can I pick and choose from what's already out there. So, yeah.
You said your objective was to go to IMD.
Yeah.
And later, what made you change it to Wharton, and why did not try for the second time in IMD?
Yeah, no, all good questions. I mean, once again, that's the point. It's I just moved out from like the what to the how. I found that the answer to the how question was, I wanted to get some skills that I thought would be relevant for whatever I'm trying to do, and I could find that, I mean, those are being imparted really well at IMD and also at Wharton. So there's no personal ego or there's no personal like sense of failure or accomplishment tied to that one specific what goal, which is very centric to you, that you were like hitting home on. I think it's totally fine to like try something else, which eventually takes you to the bigger goal. So the trick is not to be lost in the trees, but to see the whole forest. Yeah, that's how I thought about it.
You said you were passionate about engines and fast moving trains. So the 4 years of your mechanical training, at the end of that, did you lose your passion?
No, actually, that's once again a good question. I get that question a lot. Overall, when I was here, I mean, I took mechanical engineering. I think it's kind of obvious from the presentation because I liked mechanical stuff, so I really wanted to be a mechanical engineer. Every single class, every single thing that was taught, I really enjoyed it. Like, I really enjoyed it. Like, everything was like a dream come true for me. Like, I would like go to class, no matter like how many people show up. I really wanted to learn whatever they were teaching. And I would say it really helped me in my job also, because I started off at the manufacturing division of the World Bank. So we were looking at a lot of manufacturing investments. I visited a lot of plants in India, all the big players who make automobile devices. And I think the core understanding of automobiles and everything mechanical helped me a lot. But overall, like, if your question is, did I lose that passion? The answer is no. I mean, even now, I would love to buy a car if I had the money, or like, open up a car. If hopefully I can put it back together without really upsetting my parents. Yeah. Any other question? That's it?
I have a why question. Why
Sure.
Singapore?
Sure. It's also a good question, and all these answers are very personal. None of these would probably apply to you at all. Singapore, for me personally, I spent some time in the United States. It's a great place. I would urge you to check it out for yourself. I think it's really fantastic. For me, one of my very personal goals is to be actually close to parents, and I think Singapore kind of offers like a best of different worlds. It's kind of close to home. It's kind of like being in Bangalore, in my view. It takes like about 5 hours to door. So I thought maybe I'll try out Singapore, and I think also professionally speaking, I'm very, very excited. I think all the countries, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines, I have worked on these countries offline, also been there once or twice on my work. And I have a lot of expectations for their future development. And I'm very excited to professionally be part of a region that I think will do really good in the long term. Thank you, sir.
I have a book question.
Sure.
Do you read fiction also? And do you think there's a lot of values to be derived from fiction?
No. I think once again it goes back to personal preference. A lot of people get a lot of insights about the way humans work, about a lot of tendencies, about facts about the world from reading fiction. As long as it keeps you up and going, I think it's kind of like working out. Do whatever that helps you. You don't have to necessarily run. I mean, do something that really appeals to you. You don't have to necessarily swim. You don't have to necessarily play sports. It's the same thing for me. I think fiction is something that hasn't really appealed to me because I find real life to be really fascinating. By reading these books, actually, I'm so much excited because I know these stuff are real. It gives me some sense of more understanding. It kind of satisfies my curious appetite, something that I referred to earlier. So I think this is something that works for me. If fiction works for you, I think it's good for you. It doesn't work for me as well as nonfiction does. And these books are definitely one of my some of my favorites. I have an even longer list. I'll be happy to share whenever anybody is interested.
Okay, let's thank Bharat again for a fabulous talk. We have a memento that I want to hand over to him.